Well, yes.
It is the UFL. End of show. You solved it, A1 base.
Done. End of show.
Yeah.
Nailed it. Titans fan? Oh, no. I mean, I'm going to say this in the nicest way. We're going to talk about where Aaron Rodgers could go today, but I would assume, and I could be very wrong here, I would assume he wants to go to a somewhat contender. And sorry, Titans fans, while you may be a main character in scripted this past season, we're not at the part where you're the main character in the NFL just yet.
Yeah, here's the problem, though. Tennessee might be one of the only places that would actually want Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers may want to go to a contender, but I don't know if there's a contender who wants Rodgers.
That's fair.
It's an interest, like this quarterback free agency class / trade bait class is very underwhelming in terms of guys who might actually elevate your team.
Sure.
But these are guys who have played in the NFL for a long time, have had a lot of success. We've got 2 Super Bowl winners who are going to be free.
Do you believe that he's still a starter, right? And I think there's probably like 3 guys that you could say that about, right? So Sam Darnold, is he going to be your starter when you go and get him? Aaron Rodgers, and then Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
I imagine.
I think you look at Darnold as the most viable starter.
Fair.
But
Ooh.
Darnold, Justin Fields, Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, Joe Flacco.
What about Zach Wilson?
Zach Wilson.
Trey Lance?
Russell Wilson.
There are 38 quarterbacks available. Results are going to obviously vary. But
yeah,
we got Sam Darnold. Zach Wilson. I mean, what, you don't want to bring back Zach Wilson, Brandon?
Well, that's the thing. We got both Stidham and Zach Wilson, who are unrestricted free agents in Denver. I think the Broncos probably bring back one of those 2 guys.
And Jay, yes, I did see that was a rumor, right? That the Steelers called the Jaguars asking about Trevor Lawrence. I'd imagine it went, "Hi, is Trevor?" Nope, they hung up already.
Yeah.
That's how I imagine that phone call went.
Yeah, the Steelers, they got to ask. They got to check around. We know they're in the market. They're a destination for Aaron Rodgers, for Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I would love to see Aaron Rodgers on this Pittsburgh Steelers, and I don't mean that to inflict pain upon the Pittsburgh Steelers. I just would be really curious what the dynamic would be between Mike Tomlin and Rodgers. And I talked about this before. Like, Rodgers' entire career has like gushed over Mike Tomlin and the kind of coach that he is. And he's always, spoke very highly of him. So I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibility, especially if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, Brandon. Like, what do you do this season? Right? Because you have Russell Wilson, you have Justin Fields. Are either of those guys long-term viable options? No, and neither is Aaron Rodgers. Do you think, you're a playoff team last year with Russell Wilson. Do you think that you could get over the top with Aaron Rodgers? I feel like that's the only only reason you potentially bring him in.
Everybody's talking about like Rodgers and Tomlin, but it's Rodgers and Arthur Smith. What's their marriage like? I don't know. Maybe they're a good fit together. And if I think Rodgers would love to go to the Steelers in terms of what you said earlier, like if you're going to somebody who you can view as a contender, then at least the Steelers are a team that, had a winning record, got into the postseason. The Steelers are Aaron Rodgers' best option, I think. I don't think there's a better spot he could go. Now, since the Jets announced that they're going to move on from him, Rodgers and other teams can talk. They can talk to his agent, right? They can get a deal worked out. They're probably going to have to do a post-June designation for Rodgers, right? That way, there is just a $14 million cap hit this year and then a $35 million cap hit in 2026 for the Jets, which is similar to the Broncos had to do that, obviously, with Russ, and I think their cap hit on Russ is 30-some million this year. It was 38 this last year. So they got to have a big cap hit on one of those seasons. Now, they don't have a quarterback in New York. They could just take the bulk of it now and move on, but it feels like it's more manageable if you spread it out. So that's just like
a $40 million cap hit, by the way.
What's that?
Packers had to take a $40 million cap hit. But
for Rodgers?
Yeah, but we swapped, first round picks, got that second round pick. So thank you, Jets. It wound up working out. Appreciate it.
And that's like we're hitting this weird. We're hitting the end of like I think a weird run on veteran, proven quarterbacks becoming like free agents and wanting to be traded. It all started too with what? Tom Brady leaving. Him and the Patriots departed. Stafford and the Lions depart. We had Russ. We had Aaron. It was like every year we were getting a big name quarterback who was gonna change teams. And that's because it was successful early on with Peyton Manning. It was successful with Tom Brady. It was successful with Matthew Stafford. And now we've had a bunch of examples where it didn't work. Phillip Rivers left, he played well for the Colts. Matt Ryan left. I don't know if teams are going to value the aging veteran the same way anymore, because all of those guys are not Tom Brady and Peyton. And Stafford went to a really good spot with a really good head coach, a good team, a good offense that was a fit for him. Like, we got this impression that these guys would elevate everything, and they better still be in that healthy window. And Rodgers will never know. Like, I think Rodgers could have been the next success story, but he tore his Achilles and it all got messed up. So we got used to seeing like all these big fun names every offseason. I don't know if it's going to continue like after this offseason, like which guys are going to be available after that.
Well, I think it's you're kind of hitting the nail on the head, and also talking about it depends on the teams too, right? I mean, when Lamar Jackson was floated around that he was going to be available, you had teams being like, no, we have no interest in Lamar Jackson. He's obviously not an aging veteran, but holy crap, does that look stupid? Like, even worse so now, an MVP later, contending for an MVP now.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just about a big swing, but you also, again, not aging veteran quarterbacks, but veteran quarterbacks, Deshaun Watson, right? I mean, literally the Browns gave up the farm for him, fully guaranteed contract, all those first round picks, and that fell flat too. So I'm sure that's going to leave a sour taste in some folks' mouth. But at the end of the day, I think it comes down to the team and also the player too, right? That exact fit. If they can make it work and go, okay, we have an incredible defense, right? And we just need that offense to kind of get like the Buccaneers were in the position that they were in, right? Because they had like a number one defense, and then they bring in Tom Brady. And, they also drafted Tristan Wirfs that year, and that wound up helping a ton. But ultimately, I don't even know who that guy is next until we're talking about a Lamar Jackson, a Joe Burrow, a Josh Allen, if those guys ever leave and are like aging quarterbacks, because I can't really think of any off the top of my head right now.
And like these quarterbacks got to start to understand their mortality too.
The Cleveland Browns, appreciate you, Jordan. I feel like they make the most sense, because if we're going for like contending teams, I think the Browns are steps ahead the Raiders and the Giants at the moment. The Cleveland, they're just a mess right now.
Yeah.
And again, are they keeping Myles Garrett? That's also like a big question too, because they could start plummeting down this list very, very fast.
Yeah, they got to trade Myles. It's time to rip that Band-Aid off.
Well, in that case, then I don't think it makes any sense to sign Aaron Rodgers. If they're trading Myles Garrett and they're just saying, then nay. Like, you're bringing in an Aaron Rodgers, I feel like it has to be either one as your bridge QB, as you just drafted somebody new, or you think you're a contender. But I honestly don't know what team is contending right this second. Like the Vikings, they still need to update their interior so they can cry later. Like, I don't know who brings them in and is like, hey, like, let's go win a Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think anybody looks at Rodgers as a guy who can win them a Super Bowl.
Yeah. I think
that window is done. It's more about Rodgers can help us win games because we're bringing in a young quarterback who we don't want to have to start week one.
This would be hysterical. If the Colts are like, let's get on the QB carousel once again, and they brought in Aaron Rodgers, and we saw Pat McAfee interviewing Aaron Rodgers every single week, and if Aaron Rodgers was not doing well for the Colts, good God, that would at least make for some great television.
Yeah.
That would make some great television.